Here's something that's going to sound completely backwards. Being lazy might actually be your biggest advantage when it comes to building wealth. I'm serious. While everyone else is obsessing over day trading, researching individual stocks for hours, and constantly tweaking their portfolios like they're preparing for a NASA launch, the lazy people who set up simple systems and then do absolutely nothing are quietly getting rich. The financial industry has convinced everyone that building wealth requires constant attention, complex strategies, and the dedication of a full-time job. They want you to believe that you need to wake up at 5 a.m. to check Asian markets, spend your lunch breaks analyzing quarterly reports, and fall asleep reading investment newsletters. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. All that activity is just making you poorer while making them richer. My name is Drew, and I've spent years watching people exhaust themselves trying to optimize every single dollar, while lazy investors with boring strategies are retiring early and living their best lives. If you're tired of complicated financial advice that requires a PhD to understand, and you just want to build wealth without it becoming your entire personality, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to get rich by doing as little as possible. Most people think being lazy with money means being irresponsible. They picture someone who doesn't care about their financial future, never checks their bank account, and makes impulsive decisions. But that's not the kind of lazy I'm talking about. I'm talking about strategic laziness. The kind where you're too lazy to constantly mess with your money, so you set up systems that work without you. Too lazy to time the market, so you just invest consistently forever. Too lazy to pick individual stocks, so you buy everything and let the winners carry you. This isn't just some theory. There's actual research showing that the best performing investment accounts are often the ones belonging to people who literally forgot they had them. Dead people's portfolios outperform active traders because dead people can't panic sell during crashes or chase hot stocks that immediately tank. If being dead is good for investment returns, imagine what being lazy can do for you while you're still alive to enjoy the money. Here's the fundamental principle that changes everything. Every decision you make about money is an opportunity to screw things up. The more decisions you make, the more opportunities you have to let emotions, bad timing, or terrible advice destroy your wealth. Lazy people naturally make fewer decisions, which means fewer opportunities to mess everything up. They're not smarter. They're just too lazy to shoot themselves in the foot repeatedly. Think about it this way. The person who checks their investment account 50 times a day is going to panic and sell when they see red numbers. The person who's too lazy to even remember their password is going to accidentally hold through the dip and catch the recovery. Who do you think makes more money? The anxious optimizer or the lazy person who couldn't be bothered to log in? History shows us it's the lazy one every single time. The first step in lazy wealth building is admitting that you're not going to beat the market by being clever. You're not Warren Buffett, and even if you were, Warren Buffett tells regular people to just buy index funds and chill. The man who's literally one of the best investors in history is telling you that being lazy works better than trying to be smart. Index funds are perfect for lazy people because they require exactly zero skill, zero research, and zero ongoing decisions. You buy them, they own a piece of every major company, and you do nothing while capitalism does all the work for you. While other people are spending 10 hours a week researching which tech stock to buy, you're watching Netflix, and your index fund is quietly making you wealthy. But here's where most people mess up the lazy approach. They think being lazy means you don't have to do anything at all, including setting up the system in the first place. That's not strategic laziness. That's just regular laziness, and regular laziness keeps you broke. Strategic laziness means putting in a few hours of work up front to build a system that runs forever without you touching it. Let me walk you through the actual lazy wealth building system that works. This is going to take you maybe 2 or 3 hours to set up, and then you literally never have to think about it again until you retire rich. First, you need to automate your income splitting. The moment your paycheck hits your account, you want money automatically moving to different places without you having to remember or decide anything. Set up an automatic transfer that moves 20% of every paycheck to your investment account. Not when you feel like it, not when you remember, automatically. Every single time you get paid. If you never see the money in your checking account, you'll never miss it, and you'll never be tempted to spend it on stuff you don't need. This is lazy person magic because you get rich while being too lazy to even notice the money leaving. Here's what's beautiful about automation. It eliminates every single excuse your brain will create to avoid investing. Too tired to invest this month? Doesn't matter. It happens automatically. Market is scary right now and you want to wait? Too bad. Automation doesn't have feelings or watch the news. You saw something you want to buy instead? The money's already gone. You can't spend it even if you wanted to. The second component of the lazy system is choosing investments so boring that you'll never be tempted to touch them. This is where index funds come in again. You want something so incredibly dull that you'd rather watch paint dry than think about it. The S&P 500 index fund is perfect for this. It owns the 500 biggest companies in America, and it's about as exciting as watching your grass grow. And just like watching your grass grow, you don't need to do anything for it to work. You don't water it every day. You don't measure it constantly. You just let it do its thing. Companies make products. People buy products. Economy grows. Your investment grows. You're sitting on your couch eating chips and getting richer. That's the dream. But what if you want to be even lazier? Target date funds take the entire investing process and make it so simple that a literal child could do it. You pick the fund that matches when you want to retire, and it automatically adjusts your investments to become more conservative as you get older. You make one decision when you're 25 and then do absolutely nothing for 40 years. If that doesn't appeal to your inner lazy person, I don't know what will. The third piece of the lazy wealth system is learning to ignore financial news completely. This might be the most important part, because financial news exists for one reason only: to make you feel like you need to do something. Mark it up, better buy more before you miss out. Mark it down, better sell before it gets worse. New hot stock, better chase it before it's too late. It's all designed to make you anxious and active, which is the opposite of what actually builds wealth. Lazy people have a massive advantage here because they're too lazy to consume financial news in the first place. They're not staying up late watching some angry guy yell about stocks on TV. They're not refreshing their portfolio app 47 times per day. They're not in Facebook groups arguing about cryptocurrency. They're just living their lives while their automated system builds wealth in the background. Let me tell you about something called dollar cost averaging, which is fancy language for being too lazy to time the market. Instead of trying to figure out the perfect time to invest, you just invest the same amount at the same time every month forever. Sometimes you'll buy when prices are high, sometimes when they're low, and over decades, it all averages out to solid returns without you having to predict anything. Active traders spend hundreds of hours trying to time the market perfectly, and 99% of them fail to beat someone who just invested consistently and did nothing. You know why? Because timing the market requires you to be right twice: when to get out and when to get back in. Being lazy requires you to be right 0 times because you never leave. You just stay invested through everything and let time do the heavy lifting. Here's a real example that shows how powerful lazy investing actually is. Let's say two people both invest $500 per month for 30 years. Person A is super active, constantly buying and selling, trying to time the market, paying attention to every news headline. Person B is lazy, sets up automatic investments, and literally forgets about it for 30 years. Studies show that person B almost always ends up with more money because they avoided the costly mistakes that come with being too active. Every time person A sells out of fear or buys due to greed, they're paying taxes on gains, paying trading fees, and missing the best days in the market that usually happen right after the worst days. Person B is too lazy to sell, so they accidentally catch every single day of gains over 3 decades. They didn't mean to be brilliant. They were just too lazy to be stupid. The fourth element of lazy wealth building is keeping your lifestyle simple enough that you don't need to constantly earn more or invest more to maintain it. This is where most people fail spectacularly. They get a raise, immediately upgrade their entire life, and end up just as broke as before, except with nicer stuff. Lazy people don't have this problem because upgrading your lifestyle requires effort and decision making. And who has time for that? When you keep your living expenses low and boring, something magical happens. You need less money to survive, which means more money automatically goes to investments, which means you get wealthy faster while doing less. A person spending $6,000 per month needs to save way more for retirement than someone spending $3,000 per month. The person with lower expenses reaches financial freedom faster because their finish line is closer. But here's the key. You don't lower your expenses by being miserable and depriving yourself of everything fun. You do it by being too lazy to constantly upgrade to fancier versions of things you already have. Your 3-year-old phone works fine, and getting a new one requires going to the store and transferring data and learning new features. Way too much effort. Your 10-year-old car runs perfectly, and car shopping sounds exhausting, so you just keep driving it. Your apartment is decent enough, and moving sounds like actual torture, so you stay put. Every expensive thing you're too lazy to upgrade is money that automatically compounds in your investment accounts instead. You're not being frugal because you read some financial guru's advice. You're just too lazy to spend the time and energy required to spend more money. And you're accidentally getting rich because of it. The fifth strategy is minimizing tax decisions by maxing out every tax-advantaged account available to you. This sounds complicated, but it's actually the laziest move possible because once you set it up, you literally can't touch the money until retirement, even if you wanted to. It's forced laziness backed by government penalties, which is perfect for people who don't trust their future selves to make good decisions. Your 401k, IRA, HSA, these accounts are designed to reward people who are too lazy to touch their money for decades. You get tax breaks now for promising to be lazy later. It's the government literally paying you to do nothing with your money. How is this not the perfect system for lazy people? You're getting free money from your employer through matching contributions, and all you have to do is be too lazy to withdraw it early. Here's what people don't realize about these retirement accounts. They're not just about taxes. They're about protecting you from yourself. Can't day trade in your 401k like you can in a regular brokerage account. Can't panic sell everything when the market drops. Can't withdraw it without penalties. The accounts are literally designed to prevent you from making impulsive decisions, which is exactly what lazy wealth building is all about. The sixth component is creating a financial setup so simple that you could explain it to a child in under 60 seconds. If your investment strategy requires a flowchart, spreadsheet, and PhD in finance, you've already failed at being lazy. Complexity creates friction, and friction destroys wealth building. The more complex your system, the more excuses you'll have to not follow it, or to make changes you think are improvements, but actually just screw everything up. My entire wealth building strategy fits on a napkin. Income comes in, 20% automatically goes to investments. investments buy index funds. Nothing gets touched for decades. That's it. No stock picking, no market timing, no rebalancing, except maybe once a year. No complicated tax strategies. Just boringly consistent investing in boringly simple investments. And it works better than 90% of the complex strategies financial advisors try to sell you. Want to know the best part about keeping things simple? You can't forget how to do it. There's nothing to remember, because there's nothing to do. You're not trying to recall some 12-step process you read in a book 3 years ago. You're not second-guessing whether you're following the strategy correctly. You set it up once, and then being lazy takes over. The seventh and most powerful principle is learning to do nothing during market crashes. This is where lazy people absolutely dominate everyone else. When the market drops 30%, active investors are panicking, checking their accounts constantly, reading every doomsday article, and convincing themselves they need to sell before it gets worse. Lazy investors are too lazy to even log into their accounts, so they accidentally hold through the entire crash and recovery. Every market crash in history has been followed by a recovery that made new highs. Every single one. The people who got rich were the ones who were too lazy or too smart to sell. The people who stayed broke were the ones who couldn't handle doing nothing while their account balance temporarily dropped. Doing nothing is literally the optimal strategy during crashes, and lazy people are naturally good at doing nothing. Here's a truth that might make you feel better about being lazy. The most stressful part of investing isn't losing money. It's constantly wondering if you should be doing something different. Should I sell? Should I buy more? Should I switch strategies? Am I missing out on something better? This anxiety destroys more wealth than market crashes ever could because it causes people to make emotional decisions at exactly the wrong times. Lazy people avoid this anxiety by deciding once and then being too lazy to reconsider. They're not smarter. They're just too lazy to torture themselves with constant second guessing. And that laziness accidentally makes them rich while everyone else is stressed, anxious, and trading their way to average returns. Let me give you some real numbers that show how ridiculous this gets. If you invested $10,000 in the S&P 500 in 1990 and did absolutely nothing, you'd have over $200,000 today. If you tried to time the market and missed just the 10 best days over those 35 years, you'd have less than $100,000. The difference between doing nothing and trying to be clever cut your returns in half. Being lazy literally doubled your money compared to being active. Now, here's the final truth about lazy wealth building that ties everything together. The reason this works so well isn't just about the strategy. It's about aligning your system with human nature. Most financial advice assumes you're going to be disciplined, motivated, and rational forever. That you'll never get tired, never get busy, never get emotional. That's completely unrealistic, and it's why most people fail. Lazy wealth building assumes you're going to be exactly who you are, a human with limited energy, competing priorities, and a tendency to make emotional decisions when stressed. It works with your nature instead of against it. It's designed for someone who's going to forget about it, which makes forgetting about it the optimal strategy. You can't fail at something that requires you to do nothing. The wealthy understand something that average people never figure out. Activity and progress are not the same thing. You can be incredibly busy with your investments, constantly trading and researching and optimizing, and make zero progress toward actual wealth. Or you can set up a simple system, do nothing, and get rich slowly and surely over decades. One approach makes you feel productive. The other actually makes you wealthy. So here's your action plan, and I use the word action loosely because there's barely any action required. Open a retirement account if you don't have one. Set up automatic contributions from every paycheck. Invest those contributions in a target date fund or S&P 500 index fund, and then delete the app from your phone so you're not tempted to check it constantly. That's it. You've just built a wealth machine that works better the more you ignore it. Being lazy with your money doesn't mean being irresponsible. It means being smart enough to set up systems that work without you, and then being disciplined enough to resist the urge to mess with them. It means understanding that sometimes the best thing you can do for your financial future is absolutely nothing at all. The market doesn't reward effort. It rewards time and consistency. Lazy people naturally excel at both because they're too lazy to do anything else. Stop trying to optimize every decision. Stop researching the next hot investment. Stop checking your portfolio balance every day. Set up your automated investing system. Turn on autopilot and go live your life. Your future self will thank you for being too lazy to screw it up.